really hurt him. I think he damaged his ankle very badly, did Tierney, in that game, if I remember correctly. So yeah. So for me, Fairbank is a bit of a sentimental choice. I think Fielden probably the best prop in a Bradford shirt during my time watching, and then Anderson and Vagana for specific memories.
I mean, for someone who doesn't want the biff coming back, you've got a lot of people getting hurt there. Your memories.
Yeah, but it's against Leeds players, so
don't count.
It's a special case, isn't it?
Yeah, shout. Yeah. Well, my Wigan fan perspective, when I came into supporting Wigan, we'd just seen the end of Andy Platt, who was, I think, one of those really, really brilliant prop forwards who I would have made it in the more later era as well. He was one that could play minutes and get around the park even after having to put on a few tackles and that sort of stuff. But I didn't see the best of him at all. So it was then Terry O'Connor and Neil Cowie were the kind of the pair when I started going to watch Wigan. And I liked them very much. I loved the fact that Terry O'Connor could play long minutes. He seemed to find himself running wide quite a lot as well for a prop. I don't know if that was to be able to play those long minutes running at smaller guys rather than running down the middle, but he defended really well down the middle, so it's not a knock on his physicality or bravery at all.
Are you trying to say he was a less physical prop than Barrie Mac? Is that what you're trying to say?
Look, I'd let them two settle it out. I mean, it's for them to settle out. Wasn't it romantic of them to finish the career together in the same season at Widnes, though? But no, I would say the best prop forward I've watched as a Wigan fan in my time going regularly, so since the turn of the century, is it's Craig Smith, the Kiwi forward who came over from the NRL in 2002. He played 3 seasons for Wigan, and he was absolutely immense. He was so talented as well. Just the way he found the angles he could run, the way he could hit the opposition line. He was physical, but at the same time, like nuggety and smart, and a tough defender to go with it. He was fantastic. So he's probably, when I put together my best all-time Wigan side of the last 20 years, Craig Smith's the first choice in the prop forwards for me, and then it'd be a battle between O'Connor and Fielden to play alongside him. But I kind of think we maybe got 2 or 3 really good years out of Fielden, but we got 2 or 3 pretty poor years out of Fielden too. Well, we got half the year of 2006 very good, 2007 he was very good, 2008 not so much, 2009 2010 he was fantastic. So we didn't always get the consistent best of Stuart Fielden at Wigan though, so maybe I'd give it to O'Connor over him. But yeah, Craig Smith was absolutely outstanding. Then if I look outside of my own club, because I kind of feel like we've had just bodies at prop forward ever since, not that I want to disrespect them in any way for what they do, but by having Sean O'Loughlin be able to do so much, play so many minutes and do all the work as well, our props didn't need to be as good. I'm hoping George Burgess might change that now, but like I say, no disrespect to the likes of Ben Flower, Tony Clubb, Ryan Sutton, who've been exceptional in all those trophy winning years. But yeah, around Super League, we haven't fully talked about Jamie Peacock, and I know for you he was a second rower, Al, because that's what he was at Bradford.
Yes.
But that longevity of his career, absolutely fantastic. And the first half of his career he was dream team after dream team as the second rower, and if anyone did the R-League quiz last night, they'll know he got 11 dream team nominations, and the back half of his career they were all for prop forward. So he was an absolutely fantastic player, and I would say probably one of the best I've seen at Super League. So maybe him and James Graham are the 2 best Super League props that we've had, but I'm twisting James Graham's NRL career with his Super League career maybe slightly there with that. But yeah, absolutely outstanding Jamie Peacock for all those years at Leeds.
Yeah, you won't find me disagreeing with that.
No, Craig Smith's a really great shout. I did actually meet him when he came over actually. Really great guy, and yeah, as you said, a kind of he brought an intelligence and smartness to playing prop, which isn't something you can always say.
I'm trying to think of like other ones that I want to think about, and who was the guy Saints had for a couple of years from Australia, who I think had one or two absolutely outstanding years, and I'm just trying to remember his name. Was it Josh Perry? Is that a person?
Josh Perry did play for Saints, yes.
And I think he came over and was really like poor for them for a year, and then brilliant for him for a year. So he was one. And back then, that 2006 Saints side had an Aussie prop as well, who was outstanding, and I just can't think of his name. So I'm gonna search for him.
I'll let you do that search.
Yeah.
But I mean, the props are a funny thing, aren't they? Because they, as you say, you tend to. I think you grow to appreciate the props at your own team, and you don't necessarily notice unless they're outstanding individuals. You struggle to notice props at other teams. They're just space fillers generally. So for me, you do tend to. You attach more meaning to the props that have played for you, and certainly if they've played for you in particular big moments.
I'm maybe getting it wrong, because Jason Kalis is the foreign prop that they had in that era, and I don't remember liking him that much. But it must be him.
Maybe your memory's tricking you.
It must be, yeah.
You're not thinking of Fairley.
Jason Kalis. He must have just been. And Maori Fastavalou was there as well at that side, weren't he? They were good impact players. In that side. Looking else around there, Gareth Carvell was a guy who played for years and years in Super League. So he's another name that you sort of remember. He played with Morley, didn't he, in that Warrington pack before Chris Hill had really become the Chris Hill that we think of now. Yeah.
See, another name that's just popped into my head is Andy Lynch as a great club man. Yeah. See, obviously a guy who did great things for us, but then continued at Hull to do just the same thing.
Yeah, and to be fair, his last season at Castleford was that 2017 season. It would have been a good way for him to go out, wouldn't it, if they'd have finished the job off that season? Because even that year, he wasn't quite the same minute churner that he had been early in his career, especially at Hull. But his offloading game was still absolutely top draw. He was one of the best offloaders during that area. He wasn't just an offloader for offloading's sake. All of his offloads seemed to be pretty good.
Yes, not random.
Yeah, it wasn't like he wasn't a guy whose offloads would hit the floor all the time. If you know what I mean, they were more. They had a purpose. It wasn't speculative. Like Feka Palacini, we talked about, used to have very speculative offloader. Of course, he also scored a fantastic try to help us win the last ever Good Friday derby at Knowlesy Road, though. So I'm not disrespecting him in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, what about any of the young ones? Because there is some good young prop forwards coming through. In that wave behind Thompson, we've got Ethan Havard at Wigan alongside Oliver Partington at Wigan. There's Michalewski at Leeds, and I'm trying to think of some other names. Because there are other names. Oh, there's the two guys at Huddersfield, isn't there? Matty English and Oliver Wilson.
Yes.
They're both potential stars of the future too, aren't they?
They are. I mean, it's one of those things that it's a position that you tend to mature into, isn't it? being polite about it. So it's great that these kind of guys have shown promise, but you just have to look at players like the Burgeye and things like that. It can take a while to really bed in and become the star that you can potentially be. So often I think Luke Thompson's probably the classic example, isn't it? You didn't see it necessarily instantaneously with him, but sometimes it comes with a little bit of maturity and some focused coaching potentially.
Yeah, because I think the guy they were more thinking was going to make it back then was Greg Richards, who has still carved out a good career for himself. Don't get me wrong. Is he with London still in the Championship now? Sure. Oh, another one that we haven't mentioned, Remy Castille. How have we got through this without talking about Remy Castille?
Oh, yeah, he's brilliant. I love him.
I think he's the only Frenchman to have made the dream team twice.
Yeah, I think he's a cracking prop.
Yeah, right. That's time to go on to the quiz, I think, because that was the last one I reached out into the recesses of my brain to pull out for. But I think we've covered most of the top props of the Super League era at least, and we've thrown out honourable mentions to some of the guys from before that era that we didn't have the opportunity to see as much ourselves. So sorry that we can't wax ass lyrically about the likes of Don Fox and people like that. But they got the quiz. Now, John, I feel sorry for you because I didn't realise that you had those sort of hinterland years where you weren't watching the rounds as intently. So I don't know how good that you. I don't know if I've been unfair on you in this quiz, but we've got the quiz. The quiz is separated into 4 rounds. Now, when I devised the quiz, I wasn't sure if Sarah and Tim were able to make it this week. So I might throw in the questions I'd come up with for those guys as well to give both sides of the whole divide a bit of a fun listening to this too. But it's 4 rounds, but there's not that many questions. There's 1 question in round 1, and then a question each in rounds 2 and 3, and then 5 questions in round 4. And I'll score points as we go along, and I'll explain the different rounds as we go along. But the first one is for you both to play, so it's a warm-up question, as it were. You can pick a number out of the air, and whoever gets it right, or if you both get the same one, then you both get it right, gets a point. So this round is called Not Just a Prop, and it's all play.
I was just going to ask, are the rounds named?
They're named, but the names are not as fun as the last time I did a quiz, and the halfbacks one where I got some really cracking puns in. But yeah, Not Just a Prop. So this question is: how many players have been named in the Super League Dream Team, both as a prop forward and in any other position? So just a number. You don't need to name the names, but whoever wants to shout out their number first can, and the other person can shout out their number second. Then
6.
I can only think of one guaranteed right now.
What's wrong with 6?
I'm going to go for...
Bit more nervous about it.
I feel a bit under pressure, but... Because you see, you've given John an excuse already. 5.
Neither of you are right, so neither of you get the point. It's 3. It's 3. So, does anyone want to play a bonus point? I guess on guessing who the 3 are. Does anyone feel confident in that?
Well, the one I was certain of was Peacock.
Yeah, I said that before, didn't I?
Yeah. but I'd have known that anyway. To be fair.
Yeah.
I can't think of the other 2.
Another one was Adrian Morley. In his Leeds days, he got in the second row, and obviously in his Warrington days, he got in the props. And the third one, very much not a prop throughout all his career, but he played 2/3 of his final season before reverting to rugby union, or heading over to rugby union, should I say. He played 2/3 of that final season as a prop, and it's Andrew Farrell.
Oh yes.
So I think his 7th and final Dream Team appearance was as a prop.
Right.
So no points so far. Moving